All right. Hello, hello. Welcome to everyone. FateCon 2025, the second annual convention here in our local DFW area. Good morning to all. My name is Kurt Krenwelge. I am the aforementioned Bardic Paladin of the Sidekicks and Side Quests podcast, the best unofficial Dungeons and Dragons podcast, in my humbly biased opinion. I am video recording this. We're doing something special. So everyone else who unfortunately could not make it to FateCon, well, now they can attend it virtually through time and space. And this year, we wanted to do it bigger and better. And we've got more audience members in attendance. And I've got a guest with me this morning. Hello.
Hi.
Say hello to our guest.
Hello.
Would you care to introduce yourself? Tell us who it is that you are and what is it that you do?
Hey, y'all. I'm Mandie Greenie. I run Intro to D&D games at Grounds and Gold Cafe every Thursday, first Thursday of the month. But I'm also been a long time DM, and I am an IRL cleric bard, so it works out. That's where me and Kurt are homies on that department.
Yeah.
And so, and our kids are really good friends too. So I've been doing this for a hot minute, and NPCs are something that I absolutely adore building because they are integral to any good campaign. So that's what we're here to talk about.
Awesome. Yeah, so if I recall how I did this last year, I kind of gave the pitch to my podcast last year, and then we rolled some dice and we came up with a character. Because that's normally the shtick of my podcast is I interview someone, whether they're someone big from the hobby or they're just like my friend or family or neighbor or whatnot. And then, through the interview, we learn about the person. We then, either bring a character or roll some random dice, and then we kind of spitball back and forth. And by the end of the process, you've got an NPC, you've got a side quest, you're ready to drag and drop them into your next game or your character backstory, because, NPCs are also part of player characters' backstories. And so Mandie and I have been talking, and we decided to do something different for this panel. And we just wanted to kind of broaden this to just NPCs in general, and sort of, since Mandie and I are on the same vibe and philosophy when it comes to NPCs, I figured it'd be more fruitful kind of for the first half of this if we just kind of traded back and forth ideas, maybe opened it up to the audience about, what makes good NPCs, how we should consider NPCs in our games. Mm-hmm. And then we can roll some of my from the tables, and maybe here and now you can get your very own NPC to take with you. And then in turn, you can figure out where they would go in your player's backstory or where they would go in your campaign. Mm-hmm. So since we're talking about NPCs, I don't know, do you want to kick us off? Sure. And just kind of, how do you feel about NPCs when you're running your campaigns, your intro games here locally?
So one of the things about NPCs that can be so helpful is that every NPC is kind of a aspect of a self-insertion for the dungeon master. Mm. It's the way that the dungeon master gets to play with the team and with the table. And so I look at every NPC as something that is a little piece of me that I'm giving to my table. But sometimes it can be as simple as someone who only says like 3 or 4 things repetitively. And, you have that type of NPC like you would in in an RPG game online, where they have a prerequisite amount of speech things. Whereas, normally when we have NPCs, we kind of voice them ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so one of the most memorable NPCs that I ever created was a guy named Jeremy.
Classic.
And Jeremy was a baker, and Jeremy only said 4 sentences the whole time. And my table adored him because at the core, they could get information out of him because he was a baker, and his breadstone had a divination rune in it. And so if he baked bread, he could cut open the bread and it would tell them an answer to a question or something like that. But the only thing he ever said was, "So I need the bread. and then I fold the bread, and then I bake the bread, and the bread tells the future. And any question that anybody would ever get to ask him outside of the divination ritual cast would be, so I need the bread, and I fold the bread, and I make the bread, and the bread tells the future. And something as simple as having a really solid, just one solid line for one NPC, for one outcome, can be enough to genuinely move a story forward and give your table a sense of like actual interaction and enjoyment and a modicum of hilarious confusion. And if you're not having encounters that have an element of humor in them, then you're missing out on what it can be. Mm-hmm. And so for me, NPCs they're such a crucial point of contact between the actual quest and the campaign and your players. And so for me, I'm like super passionate about building ones because even if they're silly, they're memorable. And if we look at NPCs from, the actual plays that we know, everybody has their favorite NPC, from whether it's Critical Role, whether it's Dimension 20, whether it's Dungeons and Daddy, like all of that, or NADPOD. There's 100 different types of actual plays, and everybody can find an NPC there or a character that they can interact with. And that's one of the things that makes TTRPGs so engaging.
Yeah, I agree, with the self-insert, but just thinking about like the ethos of the podcast and, what sprung it and kind of mm-hmm. the interesting, I hope interesting approach is the way the podcast came about. Actually, is I came across like a random social media post, and it was from r/shower thoughts. And the posting said, everybody else in your life is an NPC. Mm-hmm. And as someone of faith, it made me think about, well, if everyone is, uniquely and wholly made, I can't just write everyone else off in my life as far as like, oh, they're just a bunch of video game programming, or they're just like, they're not a person because I haven't related to them. So that kind of spawned the whole idea for the podcast and why I invite a guest, we interview, we create a character, whether it's through randomization or it's through like intentional sitting mm-hmm. down and making the character and making the side quest. So all of that to say is that I think kind of like the best way to world build and to like really get to know a place is through the NPCs. Yeah. Because I can tell you that through the podcast and some of these truly random characters that we've made has opened up my world building. Like I had a former Dallas Cowboys professional football player and the guy who made Demiplane, the online tabletop gaming service, Travis Frederick, on the mm-hmm. podcast. And we randomly rolled for a death tyrant beholder chef. And through that, we came up with this idea that he belonged to like an interdimensional realm of chefs. And that no matter where you were, they had like the ultimate cookbook and that they could cook you anything. And it didn't matter if they were a death holder, a mind flayer, a goblin, or an elf. Like if you were part of this faction, you could make, you could belong and make this amazing cuisine from whatever culture. And because of that, I was able to world build in my own game and come up with the idea of like, oh, okay, well, the Culinary Kantu. Yes, that's the guild that if you go there and you spend money, you can join this guild, and you can be someone of prestige. And you're just like, oh, I'm hired to a king or a queen. And I'm a gith, but like, I know how to make like a goblin souffle like nobody's business. And there was power and prestige that came with it. So, examples like that are just, you roll the dice and sometimes it kind of feels like that in real life where you just stumble across someone in your everyday life and you're just like,
How did you get here?
How? It's like you're a dude who is into woodworking, but you look like someone who also collects like porcelain figurines. And you think of that randomly, but literally you could go out into this crazy world of ours, all
Yeah.
what, 6-8 billion of us?
Yeah.
And you would find someone who would meet that criteria. So
Yeah.
I think for me, the tagline or the byline of the podcast is we're building a world one character at a time. And I think that's kind of like a really good way to approach it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's one of the things that I adore about the randomization of, putting things together, because when you build an NPC, or when you are trying to have someone who can help your party, you have a goal in mind, right?
Mm.
So whether it's that they're a quest giver, whether they're a crafter, whether they're, there's always a goal in mind with building an NPC.
Mm.
But out of that goal comes an actual, like, three-dimensional being.
Mm.
And it's, regardless of how bizarre it sounds, like a beholder chef sounds bizarre.
Mm.
But then when you're given that, myriad of qualities, then it forces you to kind of go, okay, well, in what situation would this be acceptable? In what situation would this be probable? What situation would this be the intended thing? And so it causes you to implement creativity. And then when you're on the other side and you encounter an NPC, you kind of have to, it allows your players to flex their skills and their own character development by engaging with this NPC that they know nothing about. I mean, and they only know the situation, but they get to flex their charisma, they get to flex their intelligence, they can flex their strength if they're going to get physical. There are things that every single encounter allows the game to be played with a level of not just levity, but genuine curiosity.
Mm.
And so I think that if you come at the concept of building NPCs with curiosity and care, you'll build something that you really love and that other people love as well. So.
Mm. And no, great points articulated. Who out there among the audience is familiar with Matthew Colville of the YouTubes?
Of the YouTubes.
Anyone familiar?
The tubes of the YouTube.
Okay, well, we got some head nods going on. It's okay. I'm not going to call on anyone in class to have to come forward and deliver a speech. Well, he has some great videos on NPCs, and him being a writer. In one of his big videos that he talks about NPCs, he talks about an NPC is like born the moment they come on the stage, and then they metaphorically die when they leave the stage. All that to say is that there is wisdom to that, because sometimes, your party's going, okay, we got to do a shopping mission. I know the barbarian is going to get antsy, but okay, we got to go do a shopping mission.
Unless you've created a barbarian who actually likes shopping.
Unless, yes, very true. And you're just like, okay, I really didn't think they were going to do this. I have to invent someone in the moment.
Yes.
You do have to give yourself the ability to be able to invent someone in the moment. That is a good muscle to be able to flex with your improv abilities.
Yes.
But just take a quick couple of notes, jot them down on an index card or a Post-it or something, because it is true that, okay, if they're never going to come back to this town, okay, great, I don't have to worry about that NPC. But in the background of your mind, if you're thinking that, okay, this is someone that they are going to come back to repeatedly, then you can take that time to sit down and sort of think about the deeper things about them as a character. So if the party starts to bully your shopkeep around a little bit, you can be like, actually, they're a retired level 20 fighter, so I don't think you'll be bullying them for that much longer.
Yeah. I the way that I like to look at one and done NPCs is I look at them a little bit like Nurse Joy or Officer Jenny from Pokemon. They're different iterations of the same position.
Mhm.
And it's really fun to find small ways to interconnect them. Like they're all part of the same, cousins, or it's a long-standing family tradition that they go to the various things. And so when you are, one and done NPCs, if you have trouble, like what does someone do if they have trouble coming up with NPCs or really playing out NPCs or engaging with them? Like, what do you do in that instance? Because I know what my answer would be, but I'd love to hear your answer actually.
Okay, so the question is, so in making an NP, like just making an NPC on the spot, and the players are having like a hard time.
Well, what do you do if it just doesn't come to you? Like nothing comes up. Like, what do you do?
Okay, yeah, true. Well, I mean, I think again, probably some Colville advice as far as like, okay, well, whatever their occupation or job is, just try and like stick close to that. So if they're a shopkeeper and you're like, well, I don't have like an idiosyncrasy for them, just think about them. I would kind of default maybe more to like a shopkeeper perspective. And then I would listen to my players and I would see what they're doing. And like, are they aggroing the shopkeeper a little bit? Or are they like, I don't understand. And then it gives me like a second to calibrate and figure out, okay, am I going to play this serious? Am I going to, if our game's a little more loosey goosey and funny, okay, can I just bring something out of left field and give that a try and see how it works out? And then from there, as it keeps snowballing, then by that point, hopefully you're like, okay, now I have an idea of like how this NPC should work. And then the party will determine like, okay, I'm going to want to find this person again in the future because I couldn't think of a good comeback then, but by golly, I'm going to come back and give them a piece of my mind later. Or they're just like, okay, well, we're done with this town because that NPC just totally creeped us out and we're never going to come back to this store. Thank you very much. 1-star review on Yelp.
Creepy NPCs. So in the audience today, how many people do we have in here who are like DMs, who are game masters? Okay. So can a small show of hands, do you guys struggle with putting NPCs together, or are they like a little sometimes they're the not. So if you think of your NPCs the same way you think of your encounters with your players, meaning like how difficult do you want this NPC to be for your party to encounter? How easy do you want it to be? Do you want them to be able to convince this NPC that they should sponsor all of their magical tattoos that let all of your party members dimension door at any point? Like, do you want to throw your players a bone? Or do you want your NPC to be a jerk because you're trying to, kind of rein in your players from their chaos and madness? And so one of the ways that I like to do that is by actually finding stat blocks for various alignments. And so sometimes if I've got say I've got a bouncer at a bar, I'll pull up the thug stat block.
Classic.
Yep. And I'll pull that up on D&D Beyond, or I'll pull that up and I'll just be like, all right, these are this guy's stats. I don't have to have it fully fleshed out, but I can just pull up whatever stat block I need in order to do it. Or sometimes if I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to pull up recently we had an encounter and it was a giant fey ram. And I just pulled it up on D&D Beyond, and I was like, okay, well, this ram has ideas about how his herd should be treated. So, okay. And using that stat block can kind of give you a foundation for various NPCs. So you've got all sorts of stat blocks in various source books that you can just use instead of trying to have to make things up on the spot. If you can pull from source books or pull from, of course, there are books of NPCs, game masters, random tables of, NPCs, totally helpful, all of those things. But I think that one of my absolute favorite things about NPCs is just you are able to have any response
Mhm.
to anything your table throws at you. And it's crazy fun.
Mhm.
And as DMs, if you can kind of allow yourself the freedom to not be too serious with it, you can actually have a better time at your table. So I'm a huge fan of them.
Yeah. Well, here's an epiphany that just sort of came to me as you were sharing the idea of the stat blocks. For our audience members, how many of you are running like a pre-made module? Okay, so we got at least one. And then how many out there are running like homebrew campaigns? Okay, also homebrew campaigns. Okay. Because my piece of advice or my way of thinking about this, because the stat blocks are great, is you take the things you love and you stick them in the games that you're running.
Yeah.
So I think it's perfectly legitimate and acceptable if you're homebrewing. I'm just again just the quickest example that I can pull to mind. I'm running a solo campaign for a friend, and she's exploring the shops, and so I decided to be like, okay, I'm going to have a pair of male satyrs, and they are basically Robin Williams and Nathan Lane from the movie Birdcage. And that's them. And then I've got it. And they're the shopkeepers for the Threadbare All. So it's a little risque, but the character's a bard. So it makes sense. And so there we go. Bam, boom. You've got your NPCs locked and loaded and to go in. And for the other part, as far as like, if we're going to do like a pre-made module and the module is introducing NPCs, of course, hopefully the makers of the adventure have done their job to kind of give you the cliff notes or the beats of like, what are the goals and motivations of this NPC that you're trying to role play. But I just thought of it as like, people like to go and see live theater. They like to go and see live shows. Well, if you've ever seen Shakespeare, there's like loads of different ways that you could do Shakespeare. You could do it by the book and like husbands and we all talk like this. Or you see something more modern and it's like modern costuming and it's like in the middle of a loud, noisy city park. And you just kind of have to believe in the verisimilitude of the scene to be like, okay, so it's just a dude wearing a pair of overalls, but he's supposed to be King Lear and I'm supposed to believe it. So I think in those instances with like pre-made characters, just be cool with owning it, like how you are feeling like, okay, so I've got this mob boss from the game. Okay, I could go the Godfather, I could go with what's written here, or I could just go with something a little different and interesting, do my own take, know my players and make it interesting to them to want to clue in and pay attention.
So the other thing that I wanted to bring up is that I love reskinning various pop culture stuff.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that, like, when you introduce it to your table, they're kind of like, oh, I know those people. I know that person. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. But I wanted to ask, how do you feel about NPCs that are not non-playable characters, but non-playable creatures? Like NPCs that are like, I did a recent one where there were these things that I found called hug slugs. And one of them became intimately attached to one of the players, and it gave them a +2 bonus to their AC. But then it also, anytime it fell off, gave them a poisoned condition. So they had to be aware of its presence. And so in it kind of bridges, it lives in a quasi item, quasi familiar NPC state. So how do you personally play those types of things? Because I know how I play them, but I'd love to hear how you do.
Yeah. So again, I'm thinking back to the solo campaign that I'm running, which is all done over Google Docs. So there's an aspect to that makes it interesting because you have kind of all the time in the world that you need to be able to like write back and forth. But I know in that campaign, for example, there's a dog, there's like a shaggy sheepdog. Like if I think of the Little Mermaid, the cartoon movie, and there's the shaggy sheepdog. There's one of those in the game, and his name is Morris. And so this pirate, well, this former pirate captain, now gone legitimate and married to the player character, has this beloved dog. And I just play, the Morris, the dog, as like, happy and excited and like wants to like, be everybody's friend. And then whenever the bard casts, speak with animals, then I just play like, oh, I'm very excited. Oh, mama, I love you, and stuff like that. And so I just think of like, okay, what's the most logical thing? What's fun? And then, I kind of approach, non-sentient or non-verbal NPCs in that manner. And let's see, I'm just minding our time here. We're doing great. We're having fun. Got a vibrant audience with us today. I'm wondering, before maybe we get to rolling some dice and just kind of showing people a little bit how sidekicks and side quests work, but also how our two brains combined can kind of riff on a character and make someone wholly rounded and interesting. I don't know, just general tips and tricks for NPCs, as far as like management, keeping track of them. I think the biggest one that I've come across, and again, this comes from learning with the one-on-one game I'm running over Google Docs. Don't be afraid to use Google Sheets or like a spreadsheet program, maybe to keep track of all your NPCs, because you'll be surprised, especially going over 12 Google Docs at this point, how many NPCs you've literally introduced yourself or your player characters have volunteered. So don't be afraid to do a little bit of organizational bookkeeping sometimes when it comes to NPCs. Not to let it overwhelm you. I'm not asking or saying you need to write out their whole entire life story, but just like their name, maybe their ancestry, key personality points, and maybe any relevant, tangible bits of information that relate to the party. And then the other piece of advice that I might have is offload some of that NPC creation and world building to your player characters. I think there's a famous social media post that went around where there's a homebrew rule that a DM shared that says, I let my player characters have the I know a guy rule. So if they come across a situation and they're like, there's no way, I cannot conceivably think of anything to solve this, you can allow your player characters to be like, oh, I know a guy. And then you let the player characters invent the NPC. So it kind of gives you a framework to work with, and then use the dungeon master can then take those notes and then figure out how to spin it, maybe give it a twist. But, the I know a guy rule, or just straight up asking your players, be like, okay, we're going to a town that your character's from. Who's the baker? And then, give it to the player characters, let them share in the world building. So that way they're more invested in your games. And then they are excited to play the games, because then they're like, oh, DM, look, I've written 3 notes on this town that we're in because, I got inspired. And then you're like, yes, that's work I didn't have to do.
Yes, 100%. And before we get to rolling dice, another quick thing is that don't be afraid to pull from real life people that you know, because as we mentioned earlier, sometimes everybody in your life is essentially an NPC. You can't play them and they can't play you, but you're interacting together. And I have, no lie, 100% put my mom in her most obnoxious form in my campaigns. And don't be afraid to have NPCs that you repeat across campaigns, because they genuinely ground you as a DM and you as a person, and it kind of actually grounds your universe. So what we do as world builders, what we do as Imagineers, for lack of a better word, thank you, Disney, is that we come up with a world for us and our friends to play in. It's not just this pre-laid out place that we all, sometimes you want to take a cinematic universe of some variety and make a TTRPG scenario for it. But you're looking at having genuine interaction in a place that's safe, in a place that you can encounter trouble, that you can encounter difficulty without real life consequences, and work through those. And so what you're doing for your table is you're letting them encounter things that they might encounter in real life and remember how they did it at the table. And so if you have a real life situation that you want to address, like whether it's public speaking, whether it's social anxiety, whether it's the paladin has no idea how to ask the cute bartender out on a date, any of those things, you can work through those real life situations and those real life encounters with your NPCs. And it's really fun because it actually gives not just you, but it gives your table real life skills to walk away with. So that's a big thing for me as well.
All right. So good. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think we jog on, and you're ready to roll, and you're dropping dice. Okay. So I'm gonna hit the musical cue, and we're gonna head into some NPC creation.
Oh, the caltrop.
There we go. Helping Miss Mandie get her dice back.
The caltrop.
The caltrop. All right. So I'm just kind of curious. So we are going to roll randomly, but I'm just curious. We've got this awesome audience here with us. Do you think at a couple of times and maybe key strategic points we should poll the audience? Maybe
I think we should poll the audience, and I think we should let them roll too.
Okay. All right. Very cool.
I'm down. We got a lot of aspects to roll, bro.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, perfect. So then I've got my Google sheet here with all my various tables that we use on every episode of Sidekicks and SideQuests. The beauty of it is that every guest who has been on the podcast, or every person who's ever taken a response, they get to leave a response in return when all's said and done.
Yep.
So the way we'll begin this
Yes.
is we got to come up with a name of our character.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people are like, what do you mean you do the name first? It's like, I don't know. It's a way to give you kind of like a boundary up front. And maybe it starts your brain thinking of like, okay, this name. But then as you come up with later details, you can figure out like, oh, do I want to keep the boundaries with that name, or do I want to get like a little loosey-goosey with it?
Hey, honestly, the first thing you were given when you were born was a name, so might as well start there.
There we go. So then the first dice that we'll roll is a D20. So would you like to roll it, or should an audience member roll a D20 for us?
I will roll a D20, and then we'll go to our audience.
Okay, perfect. All right. So D20 roll. And we will use all the dice today. Don't worry.
13.
13 as I check the list. So this was provided by our previous guest, Alyssa Vischer. If you guys are playing the 2024 edition, Alyssa actually contributed to the 2024 rules. You can find her name in the book. Zuri, Zuri. Zuri is the name we are working with today. And then let's see here. The next thing we get to roll for is the ancestry of our characters. So this is going to be a D100 roll. So did you say that you wanted the audience to roll up on this? So okay, are we going to ask an audience member if you got some dice, or if you want to come up here?
Do you want to come up here? Who wants to come up here and roll?
How do you want to do this, bro?
Okay, yeah, sure. Come on up. Get some of our dice out.
Roll it up, broski.
Don't worry, you don't have to come up on the camera. That's fine.
All right. Look at you being amazing. All right,
so good, sir. Okay, you're not going to have to appear on camera, but just for the audience at home, for the audio listening audience at home, who do we have the pleasure of rolling the dice today?
Richard. Hey, Richard.
Thank you. Okay, let's roll the bones.
74.
Ooh, okay, 74. All right. Well, scroll down the list for the 2d10s. 74. Manticore.
Ooh, nice.
So we have a manticore named Zuri.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay, thank you, Richard, again. All right, the next thing we roll for is the job or role in society that Zuri, the manticore, would have. And this is just going to be a regular D10 roll. Do you think I should take this one?
I think you should take that one.
Okay, I'm going to roll a D10. And we got 4. Ooh, okay, so this one was provided by my cousin, Seth. Thank you, Seth. Inquisitor.
Oh.
So we have a manticore named Zuri that's an inquisitor.
Okay.
And then let's see, the next thing we roll for, before we take a pause on the dice rolling, is what is going to be the age range of our character. This is just going to be a D8 roll.
All right. Who wants to roll a D8? Come on.
Anyone else from the audience? Hey, all right, you in the front, good sir.
Ew. That's my husband.
Oh, okay.
Hey, babe.
Hey, babe. Roll me a D8, please.
And for our audience at home, who do we have the pleasure of rolling the dice?
I'm Chris. I'm Mandie's husband.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Chris. 2, a teenager.
A teenage.
So we have a teenage inquisitor named Zuri
Okay.
that's a manticore.
Okay, hold on. I just need a second. Talk about a teenage dirtbag. Okay.
Yes, teenage dirtbag for sure. All right. And so now this is the part in the show where I say we take a pause in the dice rolling because now we need to come up with a physical description of our characters. We have a manticore that's named Zuri, but they're a teenage inquisitor. So what sort of physical appearance are we imagining for this character?
Gangly.
A gangly manticore?
Gangly. Here's the thing. Every teenager, regardless of what social status or level of attractiveness in an aesthetic version, at some point they're incredibly gangly. Parts don't look like they fit together, and that's just part of growing. So I'm going to go with gangly at very first pass. You get the next one.
Okay. And obviously we have an interesting quandary here as far as the physical description of the character because, we do have ancient mythology to look to for this manticore, but we've also got what the D&D Monster Manual books say. So when we're thinking of Zuri as a teenage inquisitor, are we this gangly sort of manticore? Are we picturing strictly like scorpion tail, dragon tail, or like what sort of how is this manticore working?
That's a good question. I genuinely I think that manticores are underrated because they're kind of cool. But let's look one up because let's look what 5th edition's got.
Yeah.
For us, according to 5th edition, we're looking at a lion-headed, dragon-winged, humanoid-faced, deadly spiked thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever seen like a adolescent lion, but their paws are really, really big.
Okay.
And their arms are their limbs are kind of small, so they look just kind of like they've got floppy paws and they've got gangly arms.
Okay.
Or if you've ever seen a puppy, like a Great Dane puppy that just is all arms and big paws and kind of gangly looking, I think that would be a hilarious way to start.
Okay.
So just tripping over themselves far too often, but because they're an inquisitor, that would indicate that they're kind of smart.
Yes, true. Here from the Forgotten Realms wiki page, it tells us, manticores are true monsters, giant beasts with the bodies of lions, the wings of a dragon, the head of a man, and the tail that ended in a mass of deadly spikes. And I think in ancient mythology, for the Persian mythology, it talks about them having like scorpion tails.
Yeah.
Let's see. The mouth of a manticore was full of rows and rows of razor-sharp teeth, similar to that of a great white shark. It used these teeth to feed upon any creature the manticore could catch, be it an animal or a human. So, kind of getting these ideas. So we're thinking the large paws, the short limbs, spiky tail.
Yes.
It's a teenager that's a head of a man, peach fuzz face.
Oh, fuzzy face.
Fuzzy face.
A little bit of hormonal acne. Oh, gross. Gross porn star mustache.
Oh, boy. Yes, Chris.
I think it'd be hilarious if it's an emo one.
With a swoop?
Oh, wait. Yes, because quill toss
hair flip.
Okay.
Okay, I like this.
Okay. And we have Inquisitor as the role. So my question is, from a Catholic standpoint, when we say Inquisitor, we're thinking of a specific moment in history, namely in Spain with Inquisitors.
Yes.
Or if you're a fan of Warhammer 40K, Inquisitor very much sounds like something from that as well.
Yes.
So is there like a specific faction or religious order that Zuri is a part of? Like, what are we imagining? Like, when you're an inquisitor, what are you an inquisitor of? What sort of inquisition are you in the process of?
Well, as a person of Semitic extract, the Inquisitions are a sore subject for me. That being said, I think that it would be interesting because the wiki says that it is a true beast, which means that sentience is not really its thing. So,
but it is a monster.
It is a monster, but it is not. It's indiscriminate in its eating pattern and its whatever it wants. It is a monster that it's very aligned with its own needs.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking at it from an inquisitor point of view, you're looking at a creature that has aligned their needs with another faction.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to think about, well, what could have brought this manticore out of its feral primal state and pulled it into a more administrative, law-abiding, law-enforcing place.
Lawful evil society or organization.
So then that would indicate, how do we do that? So that's something to think about, because if they're an inquisitor for, let's say, Tiamat somehow awakened him and brought him into a full understanding that, the world needs a little more chaos. So maybe that.
Yeah, true. I'm also thinking of, like, it says that they have dragon parts. So maybe they got brought in because of that aspect, or just a hilarious thing I'm thinking of, like these dragon cultists are like trying to gather dragon eggs. So they're like, we got to hatch more dragons for the glory of Tiamat. Well, this egg hatches.
This egg hatched, and
it's a manticore.
Not a dragon.
It's not an actual dragon. So then this manticore gets brought up in the cult. And then they're like, well, you're like this big scary monster, and you can be like our muscle. You can be like our inquisitor. So when we capture people and we make them confess, or we make them do whatever nasty things we as an evil cult are going to do, then we just have Zuri handle them.
Or that is fantastic, but also it would feed into the very emo teenage inquisitor. No one understands me. I'm not a real dragon. I'm a manticore. I'm better than the other dragons. And it's giving Napoleon Dynamite, and it's giving, I'm like so evil. I'm like baddest in this entire cult, and no one understands me. But I could like eat your head off.
Okay, all right, I like that. I think that's going to roll beautifully into the next question, which are, for role-playing purposes, which Mannie was doing a great job here just now. If we had to assign 3 adjectives to Zuri, what 3 adjectives do we think would best, encapsulate this character? We're gonna roll them into our game. Hey, the party's gonna go fight this cult of Tiamat. They found the cell. Well, now there's gonna be a manticore in the mix. So when you're role playing this manticore, how are we gonna do it? It sounds like emo is gonna be like
moody.
pretty moody.
Moody. I think teenager is its own adjective. I think that if you've met teenagers, they have a very specific sense of, I don't know, sense of self. I think the self-importance, not entitlement, but like they are the main character. So real main character energy coming from this guy.
Okay.
So moody, main character. I'm the hero of my own story.
I see. Okay. And any other notes from the audience thinking of, yeah.
Yes, awkward. Awkward is fantastic.
Oh, perfect. All right, breezing through these questions, and now we get to go back to some dice rolling. We like all of our NPCs to have something valuable on their person, and this is a combo roll. So we get to figure out what's going to be a valuable item, piece of lore, secret, or ideal or concept that this character Zuri would ascribe to. So we roll a D4 for the category first, and then we roll a D6 for the particular thing. Do you think we should, if I do the category and then you do the D6, So it's like we're doing the combo at the same time.
Let's do it, bro.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, I got a 2.
So did I.
Oh, okay, so 2 and 2. So this answer was provided to us by our previous guest, Jacob Prince. So Zuri knows about a specific magic mirror that if you hold it up in one location, it will reflect back a different location in the mirror. So that's kind of interesting. So how do you think through his torturousness, through his inquisitor job, he learned about this particular magic mirror? Is that the most likely outcome?
I would say probably it would be fun if he like picked it out of his teeth. If someone had it on their person and he ate them, and he picked it out of his teeth, and then being as concerned with his own appearance as most teenagers are, he tried to look into it and discovered that it was a magic mirror, because how was he supposed to fix his swoopy hair if he didn't have a mirror? And in so doing, he found out that it's a magic mirror.
Oh, okay. I like it. And yeah, it's just I'm just kind of wondering the DM sort of implications, so it's a specific magic mirror. If you hold it up in one location, it's going to reflect back a different location. So like how I guess it would come in handy for like gate or dimension door, or maybe some of those sorts of aspects.
Yeah, it would be definitely something that would be a site-based casting in terms of like a location you can see.
Also probably a good way for a DM if you're trying to feed breadcrumbs to your players and they like, how in the world are we going to get to the plane of Earth? Okay, well, one of the times the magic mirror comes up, oh, there's the capital city there in the plane of Earth.
Yeah.
And now you've given a clue to your players of like, oh, wait, we have seen that place before. You just learned the gate spell. Great. Now we can get there.
Yeah.
So that might be a good way to use it.
Yeah, I would agree. And I'd also say that it would be a really fun point of contention for Zuri they know about this mirror. They know that it's a magic mirror, but they still have no idea what they're looking at. And it's really frustrating.
Oh, and then again, teenager vibes. You know how, speaking as an elder millennial, you know how all those teens only care about their Snapchat and their Instagram filters and their TikToks.
They're TikTokies.
They're looking in the mirror to look at themselves, but meanwhile the background keeps changing, like a web call that you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not a cat. Let me fix the background on this call. Don't mind me.
The filter on the mirror.
The filter on the mirror. So it's like, oh, here's a look into Avernus, and now there's flames. Oh, I look so emo and cool. And then like he's like, oh wait, let me look at it again. Oh, now it's a magical, mythical forest glade. Oh man, I didn't want that one.
Or suddenly he looks like he's covered in sparkles. Or this magic mirror is pretty much just a Snapchat filter generator. I like it. I like that idea. Yeah, it's pretty fun. What's next on our list?
Yeah, so now we want all of our NPCs to have bright gold exclamation points over their head to let you know, hey, I've got a side quest to offer up that you can take. So
other than killing them.
Other than doing that. So what's going to be a side quest that Zuri would be willing to offer up to a bunch of characters to go and do? So maybe for this last one, we want another audience member to come up and roll a D12 for us.
Come on, friends. Who wants a D12? Come on, come do.
Hey,
come do.
All right.
Make it happen.
There we go, making his way up. And who do we have the pleasure of rolling the final dice for us today?
Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Jason, thank you so much.
Welcome. Right. You can use the tray or not.
4.
Glory.
Okay. Well, okay. This one is hung around, and I will allow a reroll. Just because.
No, I actually think this will go well.
You think this will go well?
I actually think this will go well.
Deliver a breeding pair of a rare species of animals to a reserve to help them repopulate their numbers. Do you think Zuri cares about that?
If Zuri's the only manticore in a dragon cult.
Oh, so so he was the first of the manticore eggs to hatch, and there might be more.
There might be more.
Oh, okay. So this will be a way to get this off our list. Thank you, Nolan Page, for this response. But now it's a way to get it off the list. So this one says, though, breeding a breeding pair of a rare species of animal. Do you think his manticore parents are still around? Like it's a whole manticore family that's been indoctrinated and brought into this cult?
I have an idea.
Okay.
I have an idea. Go with me. Once upon a time, this cult of Tiamat brought their manticore, a rare magical bunny, in order to eat it and obtain its magic.
Okay.
But this little baby manticore fell in love with this magic bunny and wants to breed magic bunnies because it loves the magic bunny.
Okay.
Instead of eating it, he has a weakness.
Like an almiraj?
Yes.
Ooh.
A small creature that is its one weakness. Because if you know anything about teenagers, they have that one thing.
They have a stuffy.
They have a stuffy. They have 16. It's a squishmallow.
Oh, it's a squishmallow.
It's a squishmallow for the manticore.
Okay, so but a pair of them.
But he has gathered a pair throughout his travels. This is his hobby, is breeding these magical little creatures for himself. And now, before he is about to take on the big role of head inquisitor, he wants to make sure that these bunnies are well taken care of.
Okay.
That they are not destroyed, or that they don't get eaten by the rest of the cult.
Okay.
So yes, I think that this would work quite beautifully.
Okay. So our monster is not totally a monster. So, he has a love of almiraj.
He has a soft spot.
He has a soft spot. So see, you can't kill the teenage manticore now.
Listen, Miss
Dr. Evil had his mini-me's and his cats.
It's true.
Everyone has their small, fluffy thing. Even the most diabolical have their cute, stuffy things.
All right. And it sounds like we've pretty well nailed this character. So, unless you think there's any other details, because I'm checking our time, and the next part we would do in the podcast is we do what's called a random encounter, which is like a role play scene vignette. So if you're ready for that,
I'm ready.
We could head into that. Okay, so now I do the musical cue for the random encounter. All right, so we're here in the random encounter now, and I think Mandie would do a great job of being Zuri. I think she's nailed the teenage angst. But the question becomes, who am I going to be in the scene to play off against? Am I going to be one of my adventuring characters that's come to meet Zuri? Am I another member of the cult? Am I the almiraj? Am I like the little bunnies like talking to Zuri?
I think we should go with Zuri saying goodbye to his almirages as they are taken from him to go to this reserve.
Okay.
And you can either be the adventurer that is taking these bunnies,
okay,
or the bunnies themselves, as Zuri tries to say goodbye in a really masculine way.
Okay, I like this. Okay, so let's see. I feel like Duncan would be a naturally good choice for this scene. Duncan is my happy-go-lucky adventurer for hire, no tasks too small, no feat too daring sort of a guy. So I'm just trying to think of how to bring him into the scene, because this is a cult of Tiamat. So we're setting the scene.
This is very clandestine.
Yes, very clandestine.
Got to be very clandestine.
Okay, so Duncan must have had a quest to come here and unseat this cult. And he's been sneaking around. He's got his deerskin loafers on, which, despite his heavier armor, they do allow him to sneak around. And so kind of like in Baldur's Gate 3 in the goblin camp, and you kind of go around the edge and you find the area where they're the torturing the one guy, maybe in a sort of similar-esque sort of situation. Duncan has found this teenager, psyching himself up, but he looks over and he sees this cage of almiraj, and so he's like, well, hold on, I can't just come in here guns blazing. And so he's just going to be like, he'll actually engage with some dialogue. And so he'll come up to the almiraj and be like, "Hello there. Sorry, didn't mean to startle you. My name is Duncan, and who might you be?"
Back off my bunnies.
Oh. Duncan will try and roll his persuasion check, and so he does. Maybe he gets middle of the road. He's like clearly not being aggressive, but maybe not overly convincing to a teenager. He's like, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, this is well, admittedly, this is a little awkward now because I'm talking to you, and I'm supposed to unseat this cult, but you have almiraj, which is not a normal thing in a cult of Tiamat. So perhaps you could explain to me what exactly is going on here.
This is Wilbur, and this is Petunia.
Oh,
And Wilbur and Petunia are my almiraj. They're like the best thing that ever happened to me. And like, I don't want to say I love them because love is like a superficial, like existential thing that I don't even know if it's real or whatever, but are you here to like destroy all of us?
well,
Yeah, you are. Okay, cool. Awesome. So I was like, I have like this thing I need, but I don't like really want to ask. But like, dude, could you, instead of like destroying us, could you just like take Wilbur and Petunia and take them down to the Southern Reserve? Because I really don't want them to die when I'm here, and I'm about to, I don't know, like go on a rampage or whatever. But they're my favorite, and I don't want them to die, and that's okay. And I just, whatever. If you don't want to do it, I totally understand it. You don't have to do it. It's fine. If you don't do it, I have to eat you. But
whoa. We don't need to get hasty here about who's going to eat who. And you can see Duncan, he's equipped like any true RPG character in the most mismatched gear to give him the best stats possible. So he looks very silly indeed. But he's like, no, hold on here. We can be reasonable. Now, the contract does say I have to deal with the cult, but it sounds like you maybe perhaps might have a change of heart. And really, I think it's only like the head cultist I have to deal with, because usually you just break up you get rid of the head cultist, and most of them scatter to the winds. And so if you want these almiraj safe, I can, this I wasn't given an exact timeline of dealing with the cult. So if you know what, you want me to take these almiraj away, I can do that and bring them to safety. And you think that's good? Oh, because of course we didn't address the important questions of the side quest of the reward and the failure conditions. So how about you give those to me now? Like the ultimatum of like, if I succeed in this quest for you, how are you going to reward me? And should I fail or not deliver on the promise, what is the consequence I have awaiting me?
If you succeed and you deliver Petunia and Wilbur to the reserve, then one, I will totally bite the head off of the head cultist.
Oh, okay.
And if you don't, I'm taking yours.
Oh, and then I'm just curious, would Duncan be able to see the magic mirror on this manticore's person?
The manticore has it kind of wedged on a rock near, and he's just like fixing his manticore every so often. You can tell that it's like up on the wall, and you can see it, and he just keeps like looking at it slightly every so often.
Okay, so he's probably not willing to part with that as a reward.
Probably not.
Okay, so the reward being he'll help take out the cult if you agree to this, and if you don't, then he'll go away.
Yes.
So, okay. Well, then Duncan will happily accept the quest, and off and away he will go. All right, so we've already got the next panel coming in. They're anxious and they're ready to get going. So I guess, Mandie, let's wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up, bro.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
For coming to our panel. And enjoy the rest of your FateCon experience. And let's get the next panel on up.